now that the wild rush of 2023 new releases is come and gone, and it's going to be kind of a lull for a while, I think it's a good time to go back, at least for me, and start kind of chipping through that backlog. Today I want to talk about one of those games that's still relatively new, although it had been in early access for some time prior. This is ROBOQUEST. Now, on paper, this game is exactly everything I ever wanted it to be. It is a roguelike first-person shooter that has heavy elements from Doom and Doom Eternal, as well as Borderlands. And there's a heavy emphasis on aggression because of the way the health regeneration system works. So the idea here is to go into a room and fight waves and waves of robots with various weapons that you pick up. The deal is, every time you get hit, which my health is in the bottom left corner, you take what is called scratch damage. And that is when your health bar goes from green to gray. Now, if you can kill an enemy and get over to their corpse fast enough, they will drop these little green pellets, which will replenish your scratch damage. You won't get all your health back, but you'll get a pretty large chunk. The deal is the pellets don't last very long, so you have to be aggressive. If you're somebody who wants to stand at the periphery of a map with a sniper rifle or some sort of ranged weapon, you can absolutely do that and have limited success in this game, but you'll never ever regenerate your scratch damage and you'll slowly be whittled down. I'm sure you could dodge every single enemy projectile that comes your way, but they start coming pretty fast and furious in the later levels. There are multiple enemies that sometimes buff each other and interact with each other in unique ways where you're going to want to probably get up close and personal, and they're not all just going to kind of walk at you single file. So you're going to kind of have to play through and, fight enemies. And I love that this system is in place because it is that ultimate kind of risk reward. Think even along the lines of Bloodborne, where you get hit but you could generate some health back. This game will absolutely incentivize you for playing recklessly, and I love that. That is such a cool mechanic, and it works very well in this game. Now, this game has an insane soundtrack. It is just constant, high octane music that's pulse pounding through all the levels. It's just going to get you in the mood to just be wild and fast and aggressive. The fact that it runs at 60 frames per second on your Xbox Series X is great as well. I'm playing it on PC where it's a little bit higher frame rate, but it's very smooth. There's no screen tearing or ripping or any kind of weird artifacting. Now, you are in corridors most of the time, so I wouldn't expect too much technical performance hits or bogs or anything. And the skybox, while it is kind of nice to look at, there's not much to it. You're basically just going down corridors and fighting wave after wave of enemy, but it works well because it's smooth. And I think in a game like this where you have this very high octane pace, you're going to absolutely want to have a really solid frame rate, and it absolutely delivers. An added bonus, this is on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass on either console or on PC, you can check it out and play it. And you absolutely should. I'm usually a controller player, but I've got to admit, because of how twitchy this game is, I actually prefer to play on keyboard and mouse. I'm sure some of you guys out there have seen some of my other videos, and you all laugh at me at how slow I move. I'm getting older, particularly in my Modern Warfare shotgun review, where everybody's like, why aren't you sliding and diving and jumping? And I'm like, well, I don't do that anymore. So keyboard and mouse is the right pace for me. But, there are options if you want to play either way. Now, enough about the kind of overarching thing. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. Each run is going to be different. It's all procedurally generated. And even better, every run is going to give you different weapons, different perks, different upgrades. You're going to have a different starting class, and you're going to have different choices to make along the way, which is really cool. That's obviously the idea behind a roguelike game, is this kind of infinite replayability. So as far as weapons are concerned, there are a ton of them. They all have different properties. Some are better suited for up close and personal. Some are better suited for range. Some do more damage on their first shot versus their last shot. Some do more damage when there's more enemies within a radius of you than maybe you're just fighting an enemy one-on-one, like in a boss fight. All of these different types of options for you to choose. As you saw already, and you'll continue to see as I level up, you choose various perks at the end, at each level, which will give you a choice of two things that may radically change how you play the game. It may completely alter an ability. The ability may be something that's much more, basic, like you're just double jump. That may turn into the ability that after you jump, flame comes out, or when you completely reload a gun, something happens. It could be modified like that, or it could be something like the first 3% or your first 5% of every enemy you shoot does like triple damage, so you're almost guaranteed to like instantly crit them, or things like that. There's a lot of abilities. I haven't seen them all yet, but the idea would be for you to synergize in such a way that you're trying to build a character that works well together. So if you want to have a kind of run and gun style where you have a heavy emphasis on having a lot of enemies around you, and you want to use a shotgun, for example, you're going to probably pick abilities that force you to, or that give you bonuses that allow you to do more damage when you're near an enemy as opposed to far one, which is cool. Additionally, each run you're going to find various currency that you could spend at these kind of halfway like waypoint stations that will also give you additional choices as well. So there's a lot of customization that occurs within each run, which makes it so much fun because sometimes you're going to find that like perfect weapon, it's always about that balance of trying to build something that makes sense. Now, that doesn't mean there's a bad build per se, but there are definitely going to be builds that are dominant if you can get the right perks. And with all roguelike games, and this is definitely no exception, you're going to have so much fun when you get that perfect weapon that absolutely changes the way you play the game and makes it so much more fun. And going back to my favorite roguelike ever, Nuclear Throne, that was exactly how I finally beat that game, was on the very last level, getting the perfect weapon to complement a build I'd been trying to get. And it just, when that happens and it syncs, it is incredibly, incredibly rewarding. And that's really kind of some of the chase of this, is trying to build up that perfect system. Now, on top of stuff that you find in the world, when you start the game, there are various classes which will determine what your ability is. I'm playing as a ranger right now. Basically what she does, I don't know. They're all robots, but in my head, I'm always playing as a woman in honor of Samus Aran. So my robot has a spear that she can throw, like this javelin that does additional damage. And I can also basically set up a clone of myself, and I can go stealth for a few seconds, which allows me to get out of enemy fire, sneak up behind them, and do more damage, which is really, really cool as well. There are other classes. Right now there's 5. They may add more, I don't know, but you'll find something you like, whether you want to play more tanky or more ranged, or have engineering support with having other like robots to support you, kind of like drones that follow you around. There's a lot of really cool ideas at play here, and it's a simple enough system. It's a single skill that you get, and then some sort of deployable thing that you get. It's very, very basic, but it does absolutely impact your gameplay, and you will find you start playing kind of with that character build in mind. If you were playing as the default class, the guy with the big shield, you're probably going to look for a more tanky build where you're up close and personal, because you have this energy shield that absorbs enemy damage, so you're going to be able to kind of hold that down and be a little more aggressive that way too, which is a lot of fun. So I like that. So you're always going to have that system too. So lots of things at play here to kind of build the perfect character. The skill and the difficulty in this game does ramp up considerably, but just like with all roguelites, there are kind of currencies in the game that do carry over from run to run. So over time, you will naturally just get better. You will get things that stay with you through every single run that allow you to be better. things that will give you more chances at item drops or give you more starting weapons, things like that that will just add to your arsenal. So eventually, there is skill required, but eventually you will absolutely begin to kind of like brute force the game, and you will be able to kind of drive through some of that harder content just inherently by playing, which is fun. I love this game. It is really, really, really fun. To me, this was a game that I would have absolutely bought if it wasn't on Game Pass, and I have a feeling when it goes off of Game Pass, I'll probably do the discount to buy it, just because I see myself playing this. I still play Nuclear Throne even though I beat it. Roguelites are my absolute favorite type of game. So this one is just so unique. The art style, the sound, a lot of character, build customization through your runs. Even the way that you get the sound effects actually spelled out like a comic book when you're shooting. Just lots of charm here. Highly recommend this game. The name of the game is ROBOQUEST. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.